Hey everybody, I have 4 news stories that I'm going to put up on
Welcome, Patriots.
the screen that I want to share with you today. I want to walk you through all of them because when you put them all together, they tell the story of what is happening right now these days with the NATO situation. One of the stories that we've been following since the beginning of the war, the rift between the Trump administration and the European NATO countries who've been refusing to help out the Americans. So we're going to take a look at these stories and it'll give us the full picture of what is actually happening here. So let's pull it right up on screen. Here we go. And story number 1, this is from The Hill. Trump troop threats to Europe fail to move the needle on Iran. President Trump's snap decision to pull 5,000 U.S. troops out of Germany isn't moving the needle in pushing European nations to enter the U.S. war in Iran or help Washington reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Trump's move, which came amid an escalating dispute with Chancellor Friedrich Merz, has only reinforced European nations' plans to take care of their own security rather than capitulate to Trump's demands. So you might remember that there was this spat between Merz and Trump a little over the last couple weeks. Merz said that Trump is being humiliated by the Iranians. Trump responded by saying that Merz should focus on saving his country, and he announced that he's pulling 5,000 troops out of Germany. The article goes on to say that the allies who are weary of Trump's constant threats to withdraw U.S. forces from the European continent entirely and smarting from the economic fallout of the Iran war appear to have carried on with business as usual, according to experts and country leaders themselves. Now listen to this quote from a guy from the Atlantic Council. The Europeans are trying to find ways to contribute, certainly to resolving or to reopen the Strait of Hormuz once there is a broader settlement, but that's driven by their own interests. They're not being impacted by the troop withdrawal from President Trump. Now, that 5,000 troops is a fraction of what they have there. The United States has 36,000 troops deployed in Germany. So it's about 14%. Trump, frustrated by NATO allies' failure to support the U.S.-Israeli war by withholding use of their bases and airspace, has railed against the countries which he accused of being cowards. And he also said that he would probably remove American troops from Spain and Italy, as they have been, as he said, Rome has not been of any help to us, and Spain has been absolutely horrible. And then we'll jump down a little bit further here. This is a quote from Marco Rubio. So they then go to Rubio saying, hey, if one of the main reasons why the U.S. is in NATO is the ability to have forces deployed in Europe that we could project to other contingencies, and now that's no longer the case, at least when it comes to some NATO members, that's a problem that has to be examined. But ultimately, that's a decision for the president to make. And then it talks about how it brings a quote from the chair of the Senate House Armed Services Committee and the House Armed Services Committee. The Senate and House Armed Services Committee chairman put out a letter where they said, rather than withdrawing forces from the continent altogether, it is in the U.S. interest to maintain a strong deterrent in Europe by moving these 5,000 forces to the
Hey,
east.
Mr. Fixer.
Paul Taylor, a senior visiting fellow with the European Policy Center, said it's difficult for European governments to gauge which of Trump's threats to take seriously, given that many never come to fruition. And it talks about how Trump, during his first term, said he would pull out 9,500 troops from Germany, but then he didn't do it. And he's been threatening to take Greenland, but he hasn't done it yet. So this guy Taylor goes on to say, it's not evident for European governments to know which threats Trump makes that they will experience. I don't know how he wants to have them respond, to be honest. I'm trying to work that out. Does he really think the Europeans should sail their naval resources into the Strait of Hormuz before there's a long-term ceasefire or a peace agreement between the United States, Israel, and Iran, and go in there and say, here, tankers, come with me, I'll take care of you? I don't know. Okay, so that gives you the gist of this piece. Now, before we go on, first of all, I want to remind you to make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Make sure you're subscribed to the Israel 365 news channel, and check out the links in the description of this video for other ways to stay connected to us. I want to just remind you of something that I've talked about in a few other videos. In November 2025, the White House put out a document, a 30-page document called the National Security Strategy. And in this document, I'm going to jump now ahead to, what is it, page 25 or something. Well, let me pull it up here. And what does it say? So this is a section called Promoting European Greatness. And in it, it talks about what's happening in Europe and how it's declining economically and how demographically it's changing. And look what it says here, this one paragraph. Should present trends continue, the continent will be
keep letting the illegals in.
Unrecognizable in 20 years or less. As such, it is far from obvious whether certain European countries will have economies and militaries strong enough to remain reliable allies. Many of these nations are currently doubling down on their present path. We want Europe to remain European, to regain its civilizational self-confidence, and to abandon its failed focus on regulatory suffocation. And then a little later, towards the end of this section, it gives policy prescriptions. Our broad policy for Europe should prioritize, and one of the items to prioritize is building up the healthy nations of Central, Eastern, and Southern Europe through commercial ties, weapon sales, political collaboration, and cultural and educational exchanges. In other words, there are healthy nations that are trying to defend themselves civilizationally, who are also spending on defense, and we'd rather build them up. So when you hear the chairs of the Armed Services Committee from the House and the Senate saying that they want to move the troops eastward and moving troops to Poland, that's one of the countries they're talking about being a healthy country, because they're worried about the direction that the NATO alliance is taking. There's also this paragraph right here. Over the long term, it is more than plausible that within a few decades at the least, certain NATO members will become majority non-European.
The UN wants USA to pay reparations in the hundreds of trillions of dollars. Hundreds of trillions of dollars from reparations from the United States. I got to play that one for you.
I.e. Muslim. As such, it is an open question whether they will view their place in the world or their alliance with the United States in the same way those who signed the NATO Charter. This is really calling into question whether NATO has a future at all. So we have to keep that document in mind when we look at these things. I bring this up here because in this article, that last section of it, it says that, they don't know what to believe. Like, which threats is Trump really serious about? As though he's just throwing some kind of temporary, temper tantrum, a knee-jerk reaction to the fact that they didn't help him out. So he's, saying, I'm going to take my ball and go home. I'm not going to work with you anymore. Maybe they haven't read this document where it literally was written months before this war started, saying, as part of the national security strategy, we are reevaluating who is actually with us, who is actually an ally, who's actually trying to defend
because they shoot him.
Western civilization.
Exactly, Mr. Fixer.
And they call out the problem of the demographic changes that are taking place in Europe. Now, so I want to just sum up a few other points from this article. Japan gets 95% of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, China gets 90%. Most of Europe gets what Trump calls quite a bit. Now, the United States gets less than 1%.
Yeah, you won't believe it.
Less than 1%.
They're trying to pass something in the
So
UN
America, which benefits the least from keeping that waterway open, is doing all the work. And when Trump asks the countries that benefit,
that's more money than there actually is. I don't know how we're supposed to pay more money than there actually is.
The most to help, the answer is no. Senator Lindsey Graham, who called Trump to discuss this
you want reparations
in the war, and I shared this quote in a different...
Our colonialism or whatever, because we're colonists.
Video. He said that he had never heard the president so angry in his life when the European countries refused to allow use of their bases.
Stolen land BS.
And in Graham's words, he said, the idea that Iran having a nuclear weapon is America's problem and not Europe's is beyond offensive. And I think that's right. Okay, let's get to the next story. Let's get through these, and then we can talk about what it all means. So the next story I want to share with you is from Politico, and this is from 2 days ago. From 2 days ago, it sounds like it's from the beginning of the war. Spain to Trump, you can't use our bases, our air bases, for the Iran war. You can't use our air bases for the Iran war. That's Spain. Now, I thought we knew that already. So what's going on here? And this is a story about an interview with the foreign minister of Spain, Jose Manuel Albares. And it says here, Spain won't abandon its commitment to international law despite mounting criticism from the United States over its refusal to allow its air bases to be used for the Iran war. Foreign Minister Jose Manuel Alvarez.
You know what I would tell them all? To go pee up a rope.
Politico. Quote, we are one of the very few countries that sent troops to help the United States to become a nation and to get independence. We want that relationship to move forward in the same way, but we won't renounce our principles. We stick to our values and we defend the interests.
I want to play a little bit of that. I'm going to get into Trump interviews while on the plane flying back from China.
So we had a great stay. It was an amazing period of time. President Xi's an incredible guy. Got along, made a lot of great trade deals, including over 200 planes for Boeing with a promise of 750 planes.
Install fear.
Would be by far the largest order ever if they.
You know, if they get the nuclear bomb, they'll use it even if they die, Mr. Fixer. They'll use it. They're willing to. You know, they could. This war could end right now if they just give up their nuclear.
Do a good job with the 200, which I'm sure they will. And that's General Electric also, the engines. Technically, we've been in war with them for 47 years because they've been doing the death to America ever for all 47, almost 48 years now. So they're buying General Electric. So it's approximately 400, 450 engines, 200 planes, and a promise of up to 750 if they do a good job. We had an amazing time. It was a very historic. Oh, look who we have. Hello, David. That was a very historic. Yeah, before I play that one, I really want to get to it. I'll wait for more people to come on.
Sir, I know there'll be a lot of questions around the China trip, but just first on Iran, have you rejected the latest proposal from Iran, or where does that stand?
Well, I looked at it, and if I don't like the first sentence, I just throw it away.
What was the first sentence?
An unacceptable sentence. Because they're fully agreed, no nuclear, and if they have any nuclear of any form, I don't read the rest of it.
So 20 years is not enough for you, it's got to be a permanent.
No, 20 years is enough, but the level of guarantee from them is not enough.
Yeah, CIA is corrupt.
It's got to be a real 20 years, not a...
CIA and Carter had everything to do with the Islam to come in. It was actually the socialists and Islam together, and then the Islam killed the mostly socialists, the MEK.
It means you've got to get all the fuel out and no more production.
We have to get everything, but we're not even talking about, I call it the nuclear dust. Came up with a term which seems...
Well, I was supposed to hit more. I typed it
They
wrong.
would not remove the...
they said that they can't remove it because they don't have the technology to remove it.
A few more to
They
come
don't
on.
have the type of tractors. They say the only one... They told me directly. They said the only one that can remove it is China or the U.S. We're the only ones with the equipment. They said, you were right. It is a complete obliteration. With that being said, I want to get it. And they agreed to it, but then they took it back. But they'll agree to it eventually.
Can I ask you about Taiwan? What did President Xi say to you about Taiwan? And what did President Xi say to you about Taiwan? And are you still going to approve the arms sale?
So President Xi and I talked a lot about Taiwan. He thinks we cannot have anything to do with what they're doing. I mean, he's against very much what they're doing. We talked about Taiwan. We talked about Iran a lot, and I think we have a very good understanding with both. On Taiwan, he does not want to see a fight for independence because that would be a very strong confrontation. And I heard him out.
Are you going to change your word?
No, I didn't make a comment on it. I heard him out. I have a lot of respect for him. On Iran, it's very interesting. He feels strongly they can't have a nuclear weapon. He said that very strongly. They cannot have a nuclear weapon, and he wants them to open up the strait. But as he said, they closed it, and then you closed them with a smile. And it's true. We control the strait. And they've done no business, literally they've done no business in the last 2.5 weeks, which is approximately $500 million a day. So we have, we're doing very well on all fronts.
Before we leave time on this, President, President Xi said that there was a risk of conflict with the US over Taiwan. What's your response to that?
I don't think there's a conflict, other than we don't need their strait. We don't need the Arabs.
On Taiwan, Mr. President Xi said there was a risk of conflict with the US over Taiwan.
No, I don't think so. I think we're going to be I think we'll be fine. He doesn't want to see a war. And you have two things. You have the Iranian situation, and that I think we agree almost entirely, other than he's a buyer, and we're not. We don't need it. And on Taiwan, he doesn't want to see a movement for independence. He says, look, we've had it for thousands of years, and then at a certain
Well, I don't know about
time,
for Israel, because they're the ones trying to kill him now.
The Korean War, a lot of things happened, and all this. But,
That makes no sense, Mr. Fixer, to me.
On Taiwan,
That only made it worse for Israel.
I made no commitment either way. See what happens.
What about the arms sales to Taiwan?
I'll make a determination over the next fairly short period.
You're not necessarily going to go ahead of this. You're
I'll
proposing.
make a determination. I'm going to see. I have to speak to the person that right now.
Kind of think our CIA did it.
It's running Taiwan.
It had a lot to do with it. I don't know if it had everything to do with it. A lot to do with it.
Commitment to put pressure on the Iranians to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
I'm not asking for any favors.
It's pre-scripted, make parts of it, or kind of pre-planned.
We've wiped out their armed forces, essentially. We may have to do a little cleanup work because we had a little month-long ceasefire, I guess you'd call it.
Like these meetings are kind of, that a lot of that stuff's already hashed out beforehand. A lot of times.
We have a blockade that's so effective. That's why we did
Most
the ceasefire.
times, maybe
We
not
really
this
did
time
the
as
ceasefire
much.
at the request of other nations. I wouldn't have really been in favor of it, but we did it as a favor to Pakistan, who are terrific.
You'd like to be a
people.
fly on the wall, huh?
The,
To see what's really happening, right?
but no, I mean, President Xi and I agree on.
I mostly worry about China, of all
we
the
agree very much on
countries.
trade. We're going to be
China.
doing a lot of trading. Our farmers are going to be taking in. Our farmers are going to be very happy with the deal we made.
Is your instinct that he will put pressure, that he will...
Yeah, if they let us keep our farmland, they want to take it all away. I know that.
I
I didn't
don't
get
need
this started.
favors. I think he will. I think automatically he'd like to see it opened up. He gets about 40% of his energy or his oil from that, from the strait. We get none. We get none. We don't need it.
Mr. President, on Truth Social, you said that President Xi had made a reference to the decline of the U.S. We didn't hear him say that. Maybe it was something he said in private.
Greater Israel Project. They're a little tiny country.
He made a statement. It might not have been from him. It was somebody, but they talked about the decline. But he said today, and he said it very publicly, he said the U.S. was declining for the last 4 years.
Yeah, I worry about
Said,
some of those Turks, especially
President
Grey
Trump
Wolves.
has done in the
They are
last
racist as hell.
15, 16 months has been virtually a miracle. He said we have the hottest. He said we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. But he said that it was a declining country under Joe Biden. He said we had a seriously declining country, which we did, with people pouring in from all over the world, from prisons and everything else. He said what President Trump has done has been a virtual miracle. It's the hottest country anywhere in the world, and it is, yeah.
On a different subject, on Cuba, there's reporting that Raul Castro could be indicted by the DOJ, I believe. What does that mean?
Turkey's got a very big military, fifth biggest military, as a matter of fact. They kill a lot of Kurds, Kurdish people.
They are really a nation or a country in decline. So we're going to see. We have a lot to talk about on Cuba, but not maybe for today.
Tariffs, Mr. President. Did you agree with President Xi to extend that year-long truce on tariffs?
We didn't discuss tariffs. I mean, they're paying tariffs. They're paying substantial tariffs, but we didn't discuss. Before I came along, it was the opposite. We didn't discuss tariffs. It wasn't brought up.
Mr. President, you said in January to us that you were going to bring up the expansion of their nuclear program. Obviously, they've got 600 weapons now, by the Pentagon's estimate, going to 1,500. Did that come up? Did you succeed in getting them into any form of arms control? Or remember we discussed New Start?
We're talking about China.
China.
We brought it up. The denuclearization. I talk about it all the time with Russia and with China. And it did come up. We did discuss.
And what did you conclude?
I got a very positive response since the beginning. So, we're going to be together 4 times potentially this year. We have the G20, which he wants to come to, which I'd like him to come to. It's going to be in Miami. It's going to be a Doral, and it's going to be, I think, very good. Much more important if he's there. And so you have the G20. We have one that he has, as you know, in November, right, in China. He's asked me to be there. I'm going to try and be there. And then we have another one on September, I guess, 26th or 24th, where he's coming into the White House.
I'm trying to understand what it is he committed to, if he committed anything.
Well, I don't want to say anybody committed, but we have a very good understanding.
So are you
the concept of denuclearization.
Denuclearization or just an extension?
Well, no, a denuclearization.
In other words, building down.
And you bring Russia into it also. But the concept of that is something that would be very good.
Sir, can I ask you about the political prisoners in China? Did you bring up with President Xi any of the political prisoners in China? Or anybody be released, any progress?
I think he's giving very serious consideration to the past. The pastor has said he's giving very serious consideration to that.
What about Jimmy Lai?
It's a tougher one. I did bring it up. It's a tougher one. For him, it's a tougher one.
What did he say about it?
For him, it's a great. He told me. I don't want to mislead anybody. He said Jimmy Lai is a tough one for him to do. You know, they went through a lot, and right or wrong, they went through a lot. So,
Yeah, some people were putting out that Tulsi Gabbard's office was raided by CIA, and then other people are saying it wasn't true. So if anyone knows for sure if that was true or not, if he was raided yesterday or not.
told me that would be a tough one. He said he's going to strongly
And
consider
the CIA's been really bad, even from way back in the Kennedy time.
the past.
Sir, can I ask you two on technology? First, computer chips, advanced computer chips like the H200s that Jensen has. Did that come up at all with you?
It didn't come up, but as you know, Jensen was there. He's an amazing guy, NVIDIA. And he would be in time.
Yeah, whoever controls the AI is really important, you know. It's really important that you don't let that in the wrong hands.
You know, they have much higher level than the H200. But the H200
Well, I don't know if they're the same. They're very similar.
And so, yeah, it came up. They haven't bought it. We haven't bought it, because they chose not to. They want to try and develop their own. But it did come up, and I think something could happen on that.
Okay. And then on artificial
I can smell
intelligence,
it.
Quite a bit higher level. But the H200 it's a great chip.
and then on artificial intelligence, what is it that you want to get done? Did you bring up?
We did. We talked. You know, we're leading by a lot, but they're second, and they're very strong. And we talked about possibly working together for guardrails.
And what kind of guardrails?
The standard guardrails that we talk about all the time. AI is fantastic. So many things can happen in terms of health,
Well, you seem very open on every question.
medicine, and
Answering it,
operations, everything. Military, and so many things can happen, but it's also got some drawbacks.
I don't know if it's the
that
same
we're
people. I
talking
kind of
about.
doubt it.
We probably will. We're going to work together. We had a very good conversation about a lot of stuff.
So,
I have seen them.
Nuclear, cyber. Did you specifically discuss those risks?
We discussed, I would say, almost everything you could discuss except for a reduction of tariffs.
On Iran, Mr. President, just to be clear, I mean, what's next? Is the threat of the bombing starting again? How realistic is
I
that?
don't want to say that. I mean, I'd like to tell you. I'd like to say on a certain hour, a certain day, the bombing is going to start. I don't want to say that. I can only say that Iran, I can say this with very, very strong conviction, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Not going to happen. No chance.
What was the use of repeating the bombing? You did it for 38 days.
A lot of it's a deep state.
You did not get the political.
It's more than CIA too, though, or FBI and everything.
Military victory, but the fake news, guys like you write incorrectly. You're a fake guy, and guys like you write about it incorrectly. We had a total military victory. We knocked out their entire.
Oh, you definitely want it for.
We knocked out their entire air force.
They'd like it for the
We knocked
profits.
out, all of their anti-aircraft weaponry.
But now they're coming up with this laser technology that'll only take like $1 per shot.
We knocked out all
So
of their
they're not going to be making the big
we
money
knocked
then.
out all of their leaders, number one, and then we knocked out all of their leaders in the 2nd division, and we knocked out numerous of their leaders in the 3rd division, and they're very confused. We've had a total victory, except by people like you that don't write the truth. You know, you should write. I actually think it's sort of treasonous what you write, but you and the New York Times and CNN, I would say, are the worst. Right.
So on another war,
you should know better. You know, you're
on the subject of
you know better. Your editors tell you what to write, and you write it. You should be ashamed of it.
subject of another war. Is there any
I actually think it's treason. When you write like they're doing well militarily and they have no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-anything. By the way, we knocked out 85% of their manufacturing for missiles. We knocked out everything. We haven't knocked out other than one bridge, and we did because they misbehaved. But we have bridges we could knock out. We could knock out their bridges and their electrical capacity within 2 days. We could knock out the whole thing. And then I read the New York Times, and they act like they're doing well. And everybody knows that. That's why your subscribers are way down. You know, the Times subscribers are way down because it's fake news.
You discussed
way down.
Well, once it's made, it's made, you know.
With, President
They make the real money on the bombs.
I did. We discussed
You got to keep replacing those.
It's one that we'd like to see settled. Until last night, I was looking.
I think someone will come up with
a big hit last night.
cheaper versions of it
It's gonna
too.
happen, but it's a shame. 25,000 people died last month. Yeah.
Admiral Cooper of CENTCOM was asked yesterday about the strike on the girls' school on the first day of the war.
Oh, it's under investigation. You're talking about the original.
It was the only case of investigation at the moment into civilian
I
casualties.
think we have a couple of things under investigation, but that is under investigation.
Are you able to confirm yet that it was a US missile?
Who you with?
BBC for the radio.
Fake BBC. You mean the ones that put AI in my mouth? The ones that gave me, that had me saying a statement that they now admit was not true? That the ones that put terrible words in my mouth and then had to admit that
It was made up.
fake?
Yeah.
The ones that are being sued now for $5 billion.
A lot of the media's
don't
in
know what
on
to do.
this
You
stuff,
with
too.
BBC? They're another fake outfit.
Can I
Yes.
ask you about the deals in China? Did you get a deal on soybeans? You know, the farmers.
And the farmers are going to be very happy. They're going to be buying billions of dollars of soybeans. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about Britain, but Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister there, is in a lot of trouble. I know you're asking.
We got to come up
Well,
with a
he's in
cheaper
trouble
way.
for
That's
two
for sure.
reasons: energy
Hopefully,
and immigration. He's very bad on that.
the best defense, Reagan used to say, is to have the best offense, and maybe that'll come to the point where no one will mess with us. You know, soon. No, I hope.
Energy. He should open up the North Sea. He's got a gold mine, and he should open up oil in the North Sea, and he doesn't. They have a tremendous value. You know,
Now, I've been seeing a lot on static electricity as energy that we're going to be able to collect, and it'll be a lot cheaper than doing the whole oil and shipping it all and stuff like that. So that might be the future for us.
buy their oil.
Hey, Tom, or
Norway
John,
gets it from the North Sea.
your name was
As good
Tex
an
today.
area
That's why I
as
said
Scotland
Tom.
and the UK has. So they're paying Norway a fortune for oil that they take out of the North Sea.
Do you think Starmer's going to?
I got a good one coming up.
Tough thing, unless he can straighten out immigration where he's weak, and if he doesn't start drilling and stop with the windmills all over the place that are causing havoc. They're causing havoc. Most expensive form of energy. They kill the birds. They're unsightly. They're ruining the landscape. If he doesn't stop with the windmills, he's got to do energy. He's got to open up the North Sea. You know, he's got one of the greatest oil finds anywhere in the world, and he's not using it. And I tell him that. He's not using it.
Should he quit?
The oil companies call me every day. Please, we want to go to the North Sea.
And I agree with Mr. Fixer. They want an upper class and a lower class. They don't want a middle class because they can control the lower class. The middle class, they have a hard time controlling.
He doesn't allow
That's why the higher taxes and inflation and all that kind of stuff.
it to happen.
Should he quit?
I don't say that.
I was laughing about
that
that
actually.
two
But,
comments before.
I mean, I didn't like when he said we're going to send ships as soon as you're finished with the war. As soon as you, well, we're sort of finished militarily, pretty much. But we, you know, David, we finished probably 70-75%. We didn't finish every one of the things. We'll go back and finish them off. And by the way, and more than that.
You saw the reporting on the missile capability, missile launchers that have remained.
Yes. No, it's New York Times fake news. The missile launches are probably 80% gone. The New York Times said it's like we were hitting them like pinatas. The missile launches are largely gone. The manufacturing of missiles is.
China's been sending them, and I got a video about that coming up.
And we know where the rest of it is. So if we go in, we'll take that out very early.
The intelligence reports seem to indicate, though, that
There are no intelligence reports. Not for the. They weren't intelligence reports. They were New York Times fake news.
Sir, would you consider lifting the sanctions on Chinese oil companies that buy Iranian oil?
Well, we talked about that, and I'm going to make a decision over the next few days. We did talk about that.
Do you think Xi felt stronger in his dealings with you than he did the last time that you
Great
went to
relationship last time until COVID came along. You know, I blamed them for that. I said it was Wuhan, and it was.
I think
right.
tomorrow also be.
And, you know, look, that was a straight.
Tomorrow also be on at 5 because I'll probably be playing what's going on in England. There, Robinson and Tusi and all them are supposed to do a protest, right, against Starmer and all that, and he's going to have a bunch of people arrested and stuff like that. So I'll probably be replaying a lot of that tomorrow, probably around 5. But I'll post something saying what time it'll be.
And everybody going, and so it affected our relationship at the time. But we always had a great relationship.
I don't even know what that means.
Before that and after that, and now it's as strong as ever. I mean, I went over to where he lives, which is
Cattle?
something that rarely happened to be there. I don't know. It's amazing.
Israel's a like tiny
People
country,
have never seen it before.
smaller than New Jersey.
It's amazing, actually. We had lunch.
And their population's small
We have a
too.
great understanding.
Overall,
I think
worldwide.
it's a very positive thing to have these two nations getting along.
Israel's population-wise, it's by 2035 voting age, they'll be mostly Muslim, actually.
President, on Taiwan again, you said you were going to check with the president of Taiwan.
In about 9 years.
To assurances that President Reagan gave, said the United States would not consult with China on arms sales to Taiwan. So it sounds to me like you have consulted.
Well, I think 1980s is a long way.
It was.
That's a big far distance.
You dispensed with them?
No, I didn't say anything about it. But certainly, he brought that up. He talked about that to me, obviously. So what am I
I think
going to
it's
do?
35.
Because I have an agreement that was signed in
It might be a year or
1982.
two off.
No, we discussed arms sales too.
Because of birth rates.
We discussed the Taiwan, the whole thing with the arms sales was in great detail, actually. And I'll be making decisions. But, I think the last thing we need right now is a war. That's 9,500 miles away. I think that's the last thing we need. We're doing very well.
Would the US defend Taiwan if it came to it?
I don't want to say. I'm not going to say that. There's only one person that knows that. You know who it is? Me. I'm the only person. That question was asked to me today by President Xi. I said, I don't talk about that.
He asked you today.
He asked you if you would send troops.
He asked me if I defend them. I said, I don't talk about that.
You tell him that.
I don't talk.
Did you talk to him about the cyber attacks that he's done in the United States or the MSS has done?
I did, and he talked about attacks that we did in China. What they do, we do too. It's like the spying. They're talking about, the spying. I said, well,
The spying,
we do it
or
too.
the infrastructure.
Look, no, I'm talking about spying. The question was asked to me yesterday, I guess. What about the fact that China's spying in the United States? I said, well, it's one of those things because we spy like hell on them too. So,
What about the fact that China is putting in the U.S. infrastructure code that they could use if you ever decided to come to the
well,
end?
you don't know.
Oh,
that.
more
I mean,
people
I'd
hate
like to see
Israel
it,
than
but it's very
like them
possible
right
that
now.
they do. And
Ignore
we're
because
doing
they
things
have-
to them. I told them we do a lot of stuff to you that you don't know about, and you're doing things to us that we probably do know about. But we do plenty. It's a double-edged sword.
So again, on
You know that
President Xi,
Muslim
a couple
is a
of years
split
ago
off from
when
being
President
Jewish.
Biden met him in San Francisco, he was asked if he thought President Xi was a dictator. Do you think President Xi is a dictator?
No, but I think that President Biden was an incompetent president. He gave us the Iran nuclear deal, which allowed Iran to have a nuclear weapon within a matter of years from the time they said, I terminated it. If I didn't terminate that, Iran would have a nuclear weapon and they would have used it within probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago. If I didn't go in with the B-2 bombers 9 months ago, Iran would have a nuclear weapon and nobody would be able to talk to them. By the way, they would have used it already.
But do you think President Xi is a dictator or not?
I don't think about it. He's the ruler. He's the
I know.
president of China.
Not yet.
I don't think about it.
Not yet,
Simply
Mr. Fixer.
You deal with what you have. I respect him. He's very smart. He loves his
But they're
country.
working
I
on it.
respect him. Whether he's a dictator, that's for you to figure out. Yeah.
Mr. President, you said you didn't talk about tariffs, but did you talk about fentanyl at all?
I did. I talked about fentanyl. As you know, I put a tariff on because of fentanyl, and they discussed that. But I put a penalty. It's a penalty. A lot of money we take in because of that. I prefer not taking it.
In the future,
but we didn't talk about fentanyl.
the military is going to be all AI run. I almost guarantee you.
Well, you know, the fentanyl is down, way down.
All the
from where it
sickness,
was.
yeah.
And it could be because of
I hate this whole thing where some group or something wants to run the world, you know? That's why I'm not for the globalist, you know? I don't want one world government.
tariff penalty.
Sir, domestic issue, if I could. Where are you on the Texas Senate race?
Well, I'll maybe make a decision. I know them both very well. I like them both a lot. And, you know, my record of endorsements is extraordinary. You look at what happened with Indiana. And out of all those...
See, talking about Paxton and Corning? Anyway, I would be going for Paxton in that case.
Races, the one that won was, there were 3 Trump people in the race. If they had won, he would have won in a landslide. But I took out...
Oh, they lie about everything.
All of these candidates, you know, long-time candidates with big leads against people that never ran before. And the people that never ran before won virtually all the races. And as you know, 2 nights ago, I won every single endorsement. A week ago, before that, I won every single endorsement. There's never been a record of endorsements like this, which is a great honor as far as I'm concerned.
You're talking about in
the likes of which
China, right?
our country has never seen before.
But you might not endorse, sir, in Texas.
They steal technology.
I'm looking at it very strongly. I like them both. I mean, I'll tell you what I do think. I think the Democrats have a weird candidate. 6 genders, a real hit on Jesus. I mean, this guy is bad news with his mask from relatively recently. And he's a vegan. All of a sudden, he's not a vegan. He was a vegan. Now, all of a sudden, he's not. Texas doesn't like vegans. I do believe either one of them will easily win the race. I think that the candidate the Democrats have in Texas is a very flawed, very weak, I think he's a pathetic candidate, especially for Texas. Okay?
Did you see Secretary Rubio in the briefing room the other day, and what did you think?
You're talking about his outfit?
Yeah, that too.
I thought he looked very good in the outfit, especially. I don't know if I'd do it, but
yeah, they do.
He looked very good. I think he's outstanding. I thought he was good. I mean, I saw every word of it. I thought he was good.
Mr. President, back to what you were saying before about the enriched uranium at Isfahan. So, what would your logic be in having just a 20-year deal? I mean, the deal that you pulled back was 15 years. Whether it would have gotten it faster or not is up to you. But
and money.
What would the difference be here?
Well, Obama had virtually no deal. Obama had a road to it.
They're going to stop giving money to all these other countries, including Israel. As much as I believe there should be in Israel, I don't think we should be giving any money to them.
Nuclear weapon, and I terminated
No more
that
money.
deal. And if I didn't terminate Barack Hussein Obama, if I didn't terminate that deal, Iran
Hey, Tammy.
would have had a nuclear weapon 2 years ago.
I got some good clips coming up, Tammy. There's some real good ones.
As you know, that deal long expired.
It's taken the most years doing it, and after your bombing, then
You know what? I'll tell you what. I know you backed Obama, which shows what a fraud you are, because that was the worst deal. They would have had a nuclear weapon within a period of...
Tomorrow for a weekend, I think I'm going to come on a little earlier because of the rallies that's happening in England. Because they're going to probably be arresting a lot of people like Tommy Robinson and that, just for going against Starmer. He's blackmailing people to stay in power.
A year and a half after I terminated it. If I didn't terminate that, and if I didn't send the B-2 bombers in 9 months ago to obliterate, you know, one thing that did happen, which was very nice, the top person in Iran representing them.
I wasn't on yesterday.
He said, I'm the only one, meaning the United States is the only...
Sometimes if I'm working someplace during the day, I get home just barely in time and I can't get it done, get it ready, and go live.
one, along with possibly China, that would be able to get...
If I get home by 4, I
dust
can't get
out of
everything
that
done.
disaster that
I got to get home by 3.
created with the B-2 bomber.
Are you willing to do that? And why do you
Yeah, no, at the right time, we'll either go in or we'll get it. I think we'll probably get it. But if we don't get it, we'll go in.
You're willing to mount the operation?
Well, no, I think they'll be totally defeated.
They're defending keeping that nuclear stuff because they want to use it. That's why. They want to kill us.
And we won't have any risk. Yeah, we have the equipment to take it out. Nobody else does. China might have the equipment. They said you're the only one. They said you and China, but they weren't sure. We have the equipment to take it.
Sir, did you discuss North Korea with Xi?
I did.
What came out of that?
You know, I have a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un. It's been pretty quiet.
Have you had any communications with him?
Yes.
Of what kind?
Doesn't matter. I mean, I don't tell you about that. But I have a good relationship with him. He's been respectful of our country. I want him to be respectful. He's been respectful of our country. Hey, thank you very much. Enjoy the flight, everybody. Thank you. I heard you didn't have cameras back here. In fact, I loved it. I heard that. Now they got a camera. I heard that you were shut out for 2 hours until we leave the airspace. But he's got a camera. He's got never misses a trick. You better make me look good with that camera. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yep. All right, this one's going to really grill you. So the UN has just voted, and they're trying to get $131 trillion in reparations for us evil Americans. The UN, watch this.
The United Nations wants $131 trillion in reparations for
not billion, trillion for colonialism
and, quote, systemic racism. In its latest trillion.
Oh, yeah, and all this white racist for that, too. That's more money than there is even on Earth.
Grift, the resolution passed 123-3. The rich countries abstained. The price
only 3 voted against it.
Tag to dismantle racism, according to the UN-linked Brattle Group, is 100.
So how somehow taking that money from us is going to get rid of racism? That is racist.
$131 trillion. To be fair, it's less than a gazillion, but it is also more than all the money in the world, not a joke. That 131 includes $26 trillion owed by the U.S., close to $500,000 per household.
Taking it out twice.
$24 trillion from Britain, who, fun fact, abolished slavery in a series of wars against Arabs and Africans. Portugal gets off easy, owing just $20 trillion to Brazil, which is $6 million per household in Portugal. Now, this is all on par for the UN's bevy of kleptocracies picking your pocket while dreaming up new and interesting ways to take your constitutional rights, from the World Health Organization's COVID tyranny to global warming to treaties to ban guns, population control, and mass surveillance. But the more important is the premise is backwards. In fact, colonialism is the best thing that ever happened to the Third World. We know this because a pair of MIT economists, including Nobel laureate Daron Acemoglu, crunched the numbers in a
It's time for us to get out of NATO, out of the UN, all that, then go pee up a rope.
2001 paper that found every prosperous third world country is prosperous because Europeans showed up. Every collapsed one is collapsed because the Europeans either left too early or they never colonized. To illustrate, when Britain left Hong Kong in 1997, it was 40 times richer than China. Guam, still a U.S. colony, is 10 times richer than independent Philippines. Puerto Rico is by far the richest country in Latin America, and 20 times richer than Haiti, which won its independence before the United States. French Caledonia is 12 times richer than nearby Solomon Islands. France's Caribbean colonies are also 12 times richer than Haiti. Britain's Bermuda is 40 times richer than Haiti and still a colony. India is 10 times richer than never colonized Afghanistan. Demographically similar Pakistan is 5 times richer than Afghanistan. Even within Africa, the last decolonization, 1990 Namibia, is 5 times richer than never colonized Ethiopia. And when apartheid fell, call it internal colonization, South Africa was 20 times richer than next door Mozambique. Spot the pattern. That's what accounts for easy rule of law and culture. Ports that are corrupt, the bourgeois values of honesty, thrift, industry, all of which foster social trust that helps natives stop genociding each other. The rule of law and culture is why the West was rich enough to colonize the Third World as a side gig, and they imposed that law and culture so colonies would prosper enough to generate the taxes it took to run them. The longer colonies is stuck, Singapore or Hong Kong,
So how are they going to get the money out of us? What's their plan? They've almost unanimously voted to get this money from us.
Independence like Haiti, or never colonized like Ethiopia, it did not stick.
Not the people,
Incidentally,
yeah.
It's not a white thing. It's universal that when rich colonies colonize poor ones,
It is about you'll own nothing. That's what they want. You'll own nothing, and they will be happy.
Victims are the biggest beneficiaries. Rome civilized Britain, Sumeria civilized Persia, Japan civilized Okinawa, China civilized its Turks in the Gobi Desert. The difference is today we can measure it, and today we have UN bureaucrats trying to turn it into a $1 trillion hustle running backwards. So as next brought to you by The Bitcoin Way, colonialism had its brutality, but these pale by orders of magnitude to native brutality. Toss in the tech, penicillin, electricity, water filtration, crops that withstand drought, and the West has nothing to apologize for. In fact, reparations should go the other direction. Still, so long as Western education continues pushing Marxism and the UN continues trying to monetize it, hold on to your wallets and hold on to your rights. Read the rest with charts and all the gory details at foxnews.com. Okay, we'll be watching.
Not the rich. Well, you keep hearing the left now saying, oh, we're going to tax the rich, billions of dollars, this and that. Where do you think the wealth comes from? Those are the people that are employing people, you know? Oh, it's annoying. All right, I'm going to move on to the Starmer thing. Starmer now, since he's in so much trouble and somehow he's blackmailing people to stay there somehow, there's over 100 something that want him out, and normally 81 would get you out. But he's twisting arms. He says he's going to disband all of Parliament if they try to drive him out. That way they would all lose their jobs as well because they wouldn't be reelected. All right, so he's going to have the police, because there's a protest tomorrow, he's going to have them crack down on him, and he's not letting some people come into the thing. They're blocking some people, YouTubers and stuff like that, from going to the thing and going live there. Tusi, I guess, is going to be able to make it because he lives right there in England, and Robinson, but they're going to arrest him. They've hired an extra 4,000 cops to come in and arrest him. Watch this. Could go just a few seconds ahead.
In central London, we are having a huge rally to not just unite the kingdom in Britain, but also unite the whole of the Western world. The Prime Minister Keir Starmer has now declared war on those attending this peaceful rally and celebrations. Of course, there is going to be the far left element as well, doing what they call a counter-protest. But of course, this march and this rally on its own is not necessarily protesting. The left are not counter-protesting, they are protesting the march, which is obviously going to be having hundreds of thousands of not just British patriots, but also those who believe in life and freedom from Europe, the Americas, the Middle East, and across the whole world. Those who are coming all the way from Canada, from Israel, from Australia. Everybody's coming to London, and a number of people have already been banned by the Prime Minister. 100%. There has now been an order of crackdown. Over 4,000 police officers are now being deployed. We're going to go to Tommy Robinson, my good friend, who is organizing this rally, the United Kingdom movement. I'm going to be there tomorrow.
Now, likely when I'll play it a little on delay. I'll probably play this on delay because that happened 6 hours earlier, and I wouldn't come on that early. I'm going to play this on delay tomorrow. I'm not sure what time, but probably in the afternoon. Okay, I'm going to play this and maybe some other clips dealing with this.
Obviously, it's going to take place tomorrow on the 16th of May, and
supposedly they're supposed to go around arresting any patriots that are nationalists. They're supposed to be going after nationalists. You say a hurty word against a Muslim, and bingo, bango, you're going to have handcuffs on you.
I will be making this speech, despite the threats coming from not just the political establishment, but also the political left. First, let's go to Keir Starmer, who is currently, obviously, fighting his own party because they're trying to drag him out of Downing Street and replace him with Andy Burnham. He is having a leadership crisis, so he needs a bit of distraction. He needs chaos and crisis. And he's going to be doing that this weekend.
I think there's more than that.
Starmer says that the United Kingdom March organizers are peddling hatred and division. rich coming from the Prime Minister. And he says, we've already blocked visas for the far-right agitators who want to come here to spread their extremist views. Let's go to the Prime Minister. Then we're going to go to Tommy Robinson's reaction. And we're going to get your reaction, obviously, live as usual. If you're a member of the channel, we will continue this conversation after the live on our chat forum. If you don't know how to do that, I'm going to explain at the end of the live stream. Let's go to Keir Starmer.
Tomorrow's march in London is a reminder of what we're up against in the battle of our values. The organisers, including convicted thugs and racists, are peddling hatred and
better watch out for us racists.
Division. Plain and simple. Their goal is to convince people that Britain's problems are caused by those living alongside them. But that is not the Britain that I know.
People don't like being invaded.
This is a country built on decency, fairness and respect. A country that is at its best when people from different backgrounds come together in common purpose. This is our country, with a majority who share those values, a majority who may not always be as loud.
Yeah, and you're all being replaced.
But must always define who we are. So, my government will not stand in the way of peaceful protest. But we will act decisively against hatred. We will use the full force of the law when that hatred manifests as violence.
It's done jail time.
And we will ban those coming into the UK who seek to stir it up,
do some more tomorrow,
as we have done already.
Wow.
Because this country belongs to all of us. And I will not tolerate anyone who seeks to stand in the way of that.
Yeah, that's you, Keir Starmer. You are doing that. Now, the reaction we have from Tommy Robinson. You banned democratically elected officials and independent journalists from entering our country to cover an event that brings all walks of life together against the
I know Lara Logan and several other ones aren't allowed in right now.
The W banker like you. The people want unite the kingdom. They don't want you. Now, despite the fact that there's already been a massive backlash politically against Keir Starmer because he says, well, all we want to do is just enforce the law. Yeah, fair enough. That's the job of the police, right? But the job of the politicians and the legislators is to change laws or introduce new laws. And that's exactly what Keir Starmer has done ever since he became Prime Minister. So the laws have changed. He's introduced more crackdown laws. He's getting almost as bad as the Islamic Republic of Iran. And he's now telling the, obviously, Starmer troopers, his police officers, to go and enforce the law. Democratically implemented laws. Yeah, but the law is wrong because you are going after innocent people. Keir Starmer has just now had a meeting with Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, and the head of the Metropolitan Police, Mark Rowley, and his Metropolitan Police Department to essentially oversee tomorrow's march and rally. Let's go to the video we have from the Prime Minister. Let's go.
That the coalition will take, so that bottom map there. The blue route to the other side is the route that Unite the Kingdom will be following, and we'll be using public order conditions to keep them to that route and their form-up locations. And then NAPRA intend to rally at Waterloo Place, and Unite the Kingdom will tend to rally at Parliament Square. So we're going to have a fairly sizable sterile area between.
So over 4,000 officers have now been deployed, not just from London, but across the country, including Greater Manchester.
Tammy, he's still there because I guess he blackmailed a bunch of people. Well, he blackmailed them all. He said he was going to disband all the parliament and have re-elections. And the Labour Party knows damn well they wouldn't even come close to winning maybe 10 seats, maybe. I don't even think that many. So he's blackmailing them to stay in power.
Who obviously has Andy Burnham as its mayor. They're all deploying their police forces and security officials all the way to the capital for a peaceful march and rally. Meanwhile, we have the far left and the Palestinian supporters continuing to do whatever they want to do every single day, every single week in London, and nobody cares in that political establishment. Now, the CPS, or the Crown Prosecution Service, which is basically the main prosecutor on behalf of the state, have also now posted this statement saying prosecutors have been issued new legal guidance on the use of offensive banners, slogans, chants, or symbols to recognize the changing context. An increase I love how they put increase twice for absolutely no reason. An increase in increase. Proofread, you weirdos, in hate crime attacks ahead of significant planned protests in London this weekend. Now, if you're watching from outside of the United Kingdom, in Britain, similar to Canada, obviously we don't have free speech. It's limited speech we have. It's controlled speech. But we also have so-called hate speech laws, which if you break it, you will go to jail now. It's not really just about, before we had non-crime hate incidents. So basically something could be offensive, but you can't really become a criminal because of that. But now that's changed. So when they say offensive slogans or signs, it doesn't have to be necessarily, for example, what you had in Germany in the 1930s against the Jews. No, it doesn't have to be that. It could simply be anything. It could, at this point, flying the Union flag, the flag of the United Kingdom, is offensive to some people. And the police can do a crack.
And they've actually arrested people for flying the Christian flag. The Red Cross one, they've arrested people for that, saying it's offensive.
Crackdown. If you have a sticker on you that says F Hamas, which is a terrorist organization, you could be arrested in the United Kingdom because you're offending Hamas. Many other examples like this. Now, they say that this is some sort of far-right march. Obviously, it's not. As we've seen many times before with the United Kingdom. People from different backgrounds, literally different countries, different religions, they're all coming. We're going to have a lot of Iranian flags. We're going to have a lot of American flags. We're going to have a lot of French flags, Israeli flags, Canadian flags. But they keep saying that this is a problem because they know this is not just about uniting this kingdom. It's about uniting the West against the liberal globalists.
The biggest problem, Mr. Fixer, is they're bringing them in and they're giving them tax dollars to live. Tons of tax dollars. Everything's all free. And you're paying for it.
Yeah. The United Kingdom rally had 23 arrests. Notting Hill Carnival, which is supposed to be a carnival in London, chaotic, 400.
See those Red Cross flags? That could get you put in jail now. That's supposed to be a Christian flag for Christianity. It's a hateful flag now.
143 arrests. The Palestinian protest, over 500 arrests. As you can see in this photo, according to the government, the picture at the top, masked up Islamist thugs, they are the good guys. At the bottom, families, children, men, women of all ages and all backgrounds, they are the bad guys. Now, the Independent Press Gallery has also condemned the banning of international journalists and commentators, saying Independent Press Gallery condemns Starmer's government for banning foreign journalists and commentators from the UK, and obviously for revoking or denying travel authorization to at least 8 foreign journalists, commentators and political figures ahead of this weekend's Tommy Robinson rally in London. Now, Ezra Levant, a good friend of ours from the Rebel Media in Canada, has decided to launch a counterattack on Keir Starmer's government. He's going to be taking legal action, and there's going to be a number of others who are going to be taking legal action against this authoritarian measure. We have also had members of the European Parliament who are literally part of center-right movements and parties. Not even any sort of hard-right nationalist, ultra-nationalist party or group. Nope. Literally center-right conservative-leaning parties in Europe, they have also been banned. This is absolutely fascinating.
AFD
for example, Ezra Levant, who, by the way, is a Jew. Now, These guys have no evidence against rebel media that, for example, I think Avi has also been banned from Australia. No evidence of any of these guys being ethno-nationalists. Nothing. But somehow, apparently, according to Keir Starmer, you could change the rules.
Yeah, who they are, yeah.
This is communistic. Tommy has also responded by saying that my call to serving police officers working their shifts at our United Kingdom and Unite the West rally tomorrow. This is a message from Tommy. Let's quickly go.
This is a direct message to any police officer serving tomorrow for the Metropolitan Police Force or drafted in from outside areas around the country, as I'm sure you're going to be, for the demonstration tomorrow. We are not the enemy. When you're getting suited and you're getting talked to by your superiors, because a lot of it's political policing, for a decade we were clashed against each other, purposely politically policed in order to create a violent, hostile situation where officers drew batons, officers were prepared wearing riot gear when they didn't need to be, and tensions rose time and time again. What we're asking you directly is please stand calm. We will do everything for our own supporters if they step out of line, okay? We don't want clashes. So if you're senior ranking officers, and I'm going to share, because there's a police officer who's telling us this is what they used to tell them. If they're preparing you for a big battle, we're not coming for a big battle, okay? You're not going into a war against lots of hooligans tomorrow. The people that are there tomorrow are the people at the school gates with you. They're the people in Asda next to you. The people queuing up next to you in the bank. The everyday decent people. And we support you, the police. We know you've had your hands tied behind your back. The reputation of the Metropolitan Police Force has been dragged through the mud, through political policing. The best police force in the world become a laughingstock on the global stage. So a direct message is just don't draw your baton so easily to beating British protesters, please. Please allow for a moment of clarity and calmness, and allow other people to intervene to try and calm the situation if any of these situations arise. Because we're coming for a family, beautiful celebration. Ignore what the government are telling you. They want you to clash. They want us to clash. We don't want to clash. I've sat with your senior ranking officers last year when they tried to put us against each other then. And we both understood what they were doing. We both agreed we want what's best for the public tomorrow. You want a safe environment. We want a safe environment. We don't want to be clashing with you guys. We support you.
No, he's been doing it a long time.
So we don't want you drawing batons on us.
He's gone to jail a few
times.
Your
higher ranking officers are detailing you, and you know there's prams and there's women and there's old people. Question what they're telling you. Question why. Is that the right decision for a safe environment for London tomorrow? And hopefully the message is filtered through your police force, because I know things have changed in our operation and the way we deal with you and your senior ranking officers in the negotiations and the planning for these events. But we are fully aware of the lengths this government are going to go to and want to go to try and cause disruption and chaos and anarchy on the streets of our capital city. They done it last year. They attempted it. They will try something this year. So to the individual officer, to the young officers for the first time putting your riot gear on.
They did that on the January 6th. They had people in the crowd.
Coming to celebrate our country. We hope you celebrate it too. We want to be shaking your hands at the end of that event tomorrow.
At Antifa.
We want to be leaving with smiles on our faces and looking at that government and all of us, you and us, sticking our fingers up at them. Okay? Because they did not succeed in what they wanted. We succeeded in uniting the kingdom, including you, the police. All right? God bless. We look forward to a fun and enjoyable day out tomorrow.
Yes. But again, you're dealing with a very different class of politicians these days. Now, to compare the United Kingdom movement to the so-called pro-Palestinian protests, that's also a whole different problem for the politicians like Keir Starmer, because their double standards are getting exposed. We have a couple of reactions here. My two-tier Keir proves why he is not a good prime minister. Saying, are you going? We are. I've already mentioned that. I've already answered that. Starmer is in his mosque evening prayers. Toddy Terrence says, as much as I hate that lowlife, but tactically speaking, if he stays till next general election, he will lose. He's the most hated prime minister. He's not going to stay till the next election. The Labour MPs are making their move against him now. So he will not be prime minister at the next general election. He knows that as well, obviously. The UAE has cut off scholarships to the UK universities, mainly over Muslim radicalization concerns. Yes, Jeff. Again, let's quickly just show you the difference between the United Kingdom movement, the last rally, and the so-called Palestinian side. See? You got YMCA on one side, fighting with the police at the bottom. The pro-Palestinian side, every single time, they attacked innocent civilians, they attacked the police, they attacked the buildings and properties, public properties. But apparently, that's fine. Keir Starmer would hang out with the Palestinian ambassador in London. He would shake hands with from the river to the sea crowd. And he says these guys are allowed to do whatever they want to do. But of course, if you do YMCA and the Trump dance, you are a danger to the United Kingdom and to the West. This is the problem, because for a very long time, the rest of the mainstream, both politically and in terms of media, were going along with the narrative that, for example, somebody like Tommy Robinson is some sort of racist, fascist sort of character. The same Tommy Robinson who also spends a lot of time not just fighting for the United Kingdom, but also fights for everybody around the world to make sure they have life and freedom. Whether his support to the Indians in India when they are fighting against the Islamist terrorists, when it's their support for Israel and the rights of Jews to live on this planet, or his support for the Iranian people in their fight against the Islamic occupation.
In fact, we know it is now.
Quickly going back to Tommy, he also said that we must not give them what they want. Everybody be on standby. His last message was to the police officers. This is to his supporters.
Britain, 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 to the Welsh, to the Scottish, to the Irish, to the Northern Irish, to the English. Let's do our country proud tomorrow, people.
Won't be
Let's
on
make him look like the wank
show
he is, yeah?
for long.
Let's keep disciplined. Let's keep under control. If you see anyone covering their face, pull them. If you see anyone step out of line, put them back in line. Let's police ourselves. Let's show ourselves.
I get a lot of communications.
British gentlemen, okay? Disciplined, tough, ready, but disciplined, okay? We're not here for trouble. If we wanted to be, we would. We're not. We're not here for trouble. Okay? Discipline yourselves, please. Bring that smile on your face. We've got a beautiful festival. We've got some beautiful performances.
Hey, Greg.
We are putting together a spectacular presentation for Britain that's going to be watched around every corner of this globe. The world's eyes are on London. Do your country proud. Loud and proud. Our English pride we will not hide. Okay? Same for all of you lot from every other corner of Britain. 4 nations, 1 kingdom. Let's do it with a smile on our face, people. Let's absolutely humiliate him. I can see the videos going out on the Sunday. Let's humiliate him. Yeah? Let's put the final nail in that mug's coffin. Love ya. Bring your smiles. A lot of effort and work has gone into this from lots of people. Please don't let us down. Please. If ever there was a moment to bite your lip, to hold your tongue, to not rise to the bait, it's tomorrow. It's the most important day. In my generation, I think, the world's watching. There's never been a gathering like this in Great Britain. Never. Never been it. It's never happened like this. Okay? Something's happening. Something's moving. We do it as proud Christian men. Disciplined, proud Christian men. Love ya. See you tomorrow.
I love how towards the end it was going up and up, and then it was like, see you tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow, obviously, we are expecting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people to come to Westminster. It's going to be a very, very challenging day for the organizers, for the rest of our team, for...
Colin, are you anywhere near there that you could stop by those events?
Or, of course, the police, because they also have to have the far left who are going to be protesting. They have to have them to deal with as well. But Keir Starmer has already declared war. We already know where we stand with the government. Now we'll see how the police, individual police officers...
Starmer needs to change the news cycle.
...would operate on the day. All of a sudden, laws matter? Yeah, only when it comes to British patriots. We cannot wait for politicians to save us. Everyone is mixing every single day. You get the same comment we get every single week from this person.
Oh, okay.
Why do the Brits put up with this? It appears they have lost their national identity, or perhaps now that identity is Muslim or Indian, African, anything but Britain. There's a slight difference there, but no, I mean, the problem is that you have to wait for a general election. We still have a democratic system, regardless of when the democratically elected politicians become a little bit mental. You have to wait for the next election to then vote them out. Same thing happened with Joe Biden.
He said earlier, I don't know.
For 4 years, you have to wait for the election, and then you.
I don't know England very well. I guess it's somewhere close to London, though.
Kick him out, and you bring President Trump in. Dear Starmer, we need vision about US like an old. I quit streeting. Why is streeting getting involved in this?
I'm going to try to stream it tomorrow. I'm not sure what time. Maybe 4 or 5 in the afternoon. I'll probably do it. Okay.
Have they banned the IRGC yet? No, absolutely not. It was funny because it was about 3 months ago. There was an announcement by the British government that they were going to ban the IRGC. This was followed by what the European Union did.
Man. He is busy.
Canada already did it with Justin Trudeau, and then European Union eventually did it this year. And when the uprising was happening, the British government made the announcement, we also will be banning the IRGC, and everybody got excited. And immediately on that day, I did a live report for you guys, and I said, wait, don't celebrate yet. Read the blueprint. Because when I read the actual proposal, I realized they're not doing that. They're not doing that. They said, we will be holding consultations over the next year, and then maybe after 2026, 2027, we might do it then. Now, in the recent days, there's been more pressure, and they said, yeah, we might actually do it soon. Again, but we are still waiting. So if you do an IRGC rally, you will be allowed, you will be free to do it, and they have done it many times. But if you do a Unite the Kingdom, Unite the West rally, then you'll be in trouble.
For those who don't know, our IGC is the Islamic ones in Iran.
Some will be out of office as soon. Effing pure insanity. Good is inverted while evil is encouraged. Satanic bees. He's trying to incite violence to be seen as a proven right and save his job, and will then link any trouble to reform voters too. Stay safe. Yes, as I said, when a political leader, whether it's in a democracy or a dictatorship, when they are in trouble, one of the dirty tactics that they can use is to cause a national crisis. When there's crisis and conflict, then obviously you can use certain measures in the name of national security, and you could also distract the rest of the public. And you say, hey, I know you're angry at me right now, but I'm the prime minister right now, where we have a big problem. We got enemies on the streets. So just bear with me while we introduce more authoritarian, tyrannic laws. That's the point of when political leaders, when they become desperate and weak, they do this all the time. In dictatorships, they basically start wars. And that's what the Islamic Republic in Iran have been doing. When they...
Okay. I'm going to move on to the next one. But here, I want to show everyone January 6th. This was during January 6th, and this is Antifa. They came in, and they changed their clothes to make them look like they were MAGA. Watch this. It's a little short thing. People caught them. See them changing their clothes? They're telling them to delete that. And a lot of these Antifas were busted. So they were trying to look like MAGA. So they were part of the whole January 6th thing. Unbelievable. So they do that all the time, you know. Let's move on to, let's do this one next. Iran. This is going to, I'm going to have to open it up different. Iran supposedly seized the Chinese boat. It was all part of the plan to get them weapons. Watch this. Yes. And
it's May 15th, 2026, and Iran just seized a floating armory. It wasn't in the Strait of Hormuz. It was off the coast of the UAE, 38 miles.
Watch this. Or makes them come back in.
And one of the side effects of this is very candidly, you're going to motivate black turnout.
So we unfortunately continue to be trapped in the same vicious cycle on redistricting.
Sandy, no.
Where we continue to beat the left. Every time Democrats bring legal challenges against us in court, they are defeated, and that once again happened today.
The antibiotics
but the
actually weaken the
rhinos
immune
dropped
system
the
in the long
ball in
run.
the end, because despite the Supreme Court decision that made it extremely clear racial gerrymandering is illegal, despite the massive opportunity that Republicans now have, not just to win, not just to do something politically beneficial for themselves, I don't know why you wouldn't do that, but also do something good, moral, and principled, because after all, affirmative action DEI Democrat districts shouldn't exist in the first place. It's a genuinely ideological conservative thing as well to get rid of these things. We have rhino state legislatures that just sit there and say, oh no, we don't think we're going to redistrict. We're going to defy the Supreme Court, actually. Maybe we'll do it in 2027 or something like that, or just not do it at all. And much like Indiana, it's always the case that either you have to push these rhinos to the maximum 100% to do anything, right, to get off their butts, or in some cases they just refuse, and very nasty primary challenges that we are going to win, by the way, have to ensue. But this is currently the case. Latest updates as of today, after we spoke about the South Carolina state legislature that decided not to go through with a special session to redistrict, basically saying, oh, no, we're not going to do it. Maybe next year. And then the GOP state Senate leader was on the floor talking about how I believe we need a healthy and viable Democrat party in this country, and competition is good. And, you know, Republicans shouldn't play to win was basically the message there. It turns out that Governor McMaster of South Carolina has now basically forced the legislature into session.
What is shingles,
the
anyways?
Senate refused to do their own special session, so now he is using his governor powers to call it, which is certainly a good development, but I think we're still waiting to find out whether the state senators are going to pull in Indiana, because it's one thing to say we're not going to vote to have a special session. It's another thing to put your name on the book, right? We opposed redistricting. We'll keep an eye on this. This is going to be quite a contentious political battle, but President Trump is already inserting himself, basically saying, hey, I'm going to be watching. The message should be clear. You would think to these state legislators, they saw what just happened to Indiana. Are they self-destructive or something? Why would they want them to that to happen to them as well? Not sure. They just think they're invincible. Oh, I'm a 20-year incumbent, therefore I'll be okay. Yeah, how'd that work out in Indiana? I'm not exactly sure, but it doesn't stop there, because while this is happening, while Republicans continue to be their own worst enemies, we're still winning in the courts. Okay, so I don't want in this video, I don't think the complaint should be about leftists, because we're beating the leftists. It's ourselves who are really beating.
Now, the person that's going to take the seat isn't going to be a white guy. It's going to be a black conservative.
Ourselves. We have another legal victory, and then apparently a similar scene over in Mississippi that we witnessed earlier in South Carolina, where in this case the rather rhino governor has canceled the Mississippi special session after a court ruling that he didn't actually have to comply with, and we'll explain that. But let me ask to the Republicans
every
too,
day? Okay.
Why should a court have to force you to
Well, it's from a
redistrict
vaccine
now?
I got
Shouldn't
when I
it
was
be
younger. Okay.
obvious that, hey, if we're allowed to
The
do
side
it, we
effect
should
then.
do it, right? If we're allowed
Side
to win,
effect then.
if we're given the opportunity, shouldn't we just take that without being forced by an injunction or something to legally have to? I guess not. So this is the nonsense.
Yellow
this is
water,
the institutional
great for
rot that we are dealing with.
gardening.
This has always been a concern too of mine, by the way, is that yes, obviously the Supreme Court decision hands a huge opportunity for the deep red states in the deep South to really take a lot of political power away from the insane communist left on the other side. But if you know anything about deep red states, usually it's the case that because, you know, as I said, the GOP there becomes an institution, you get this rot of these old geriatric fossil incumbents and their handpicked successors and all that stuff. This is the product you get, which is you would think the most conservative states should reflect the most conservative politics, but that's not the case. Although, as we've seen now in Texas, now in Indiana, a lot of Republican primary voters are starting to wake up to this stuff, maybe in ways they didn't before. And so that should be something, frankly, that a lot of the Republican elected politicians, I should say, keep in mind nationwide. But I guess not. I guess they're going to be so self-destructive politically that not only do they choose willingly to lose to the left, they also lose to their own voter base. And for what? So you can take a contributorship job at CNN or MSNBC after this. It's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. But we'll get into these stories here today, guys. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is the best way to support our work, and it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And that said, after our story yesterday or the other day documenting how that ridiculous...
Was that a sliver, John? I used to get those all the time. You know, I do construction.
South Carolina
And
state legislature
really
decided, the state senate in particular, I should point out, the state house was perfectly fine. Usually the house are, the younger guys more in touch with the base, but the Senate, longer terms, as I said, these people become institutions. They made this whole principled conservative quote unquote speech, which really just means their only principles losing to the left, right? But about how, we should ensure fairness. And that's
Mr.
why
Fixer,
Jim
a lot of
Clyburn,
people don't
one
like
of the
the
biggest
seed
race
stuff.
communists in the history of the United States, should actually be allowed to keep his seat. We shouldn't just totally screw over the Democrat Party because we believe in fairness, even though have you ever seen a Democrat get up there? Did the Virginia Democrats get on the floor and say, I think we should preserve a fair power balance in this state? No, they play to win. That's what's so frustrating to me. At what point? I think our base gets it. Like, the voters get it. We don't have to explain this over and over. But at what point are our politicians going to understand, hey, actually in politics, the goal is to win, right? The goal is victory. Because guess what? If you don't win, none of your so-called quote-unquote principles can be implemented. And yes, as we saw in Indiana, and why I feel like I don't have to keep explaining myself, Republican voters made it clear they agree. They want to play to win. They certainly don't want to lose. When they elect a person who stands for certain things, they want them to actually get into office and fulfill those things. But anyway, so in response to the disgrace we saw in South Carolina, which maybe shouldn't be surprising because it is a pretty notoriously rhino state, Donald Trump put out the following saying, the South Carolina State Senate has a big vote on redistricting. I'm watching closely along with all Republicans across the country who are counting on their elected leaders to use every legal and constitutional authority they have to stop the radical left Democrats from destroying our country, which is exactly the way I would put it, right? Let's keep that in mind too, because these, the so-called principled right, the losers, the rhinos, these are the people who always virtue signal and lecture us about the Constitution, We have to reject MAGA populism and stand with the Constitution and historic conservative legal principles and the National Review thesis from 1991 or something like that, right? Okay, but you know what? In this case, that's perfectly fine. I asked then to the principled Constitution.
They've been doing this for decades.
Okay,
gerrymandering.
Aren't you supposed to respect the Supreme Court then? Why are you keeping unconstitutional congressional maps in place? I thought you were a constitutionalist. But as you find out, a lot of the so-called principled right, as they call themselves, doesn't have any principles besides losing to the left. If it gives them an opportunity to hand victory to the left, they'll do it. So, when it means standing by being supposedly a constitutionalist, that's what they do. When it means being a civil libertarian, that's what they do. Or in this case, when it means literally being a progressive judicial activist, basically saying that, the Supreme Court's ruling on what is effectively affirmative action should not be upheld because, we actually should support race communists. That's exactly what they do. So yeah, legal and constitutional authority. Please hear those words, rhinos. It's not about Trump. It's about the Constitution you claim to care so much about. But anyways, including leveling the playing field against their decades of egregious gerrymandering and census rigging. Absolutely. South Carolina Republicans, be bold and courageous, just like the Republicans of the great state of Tennessee were last week. Yes. Move the U.S. House primaries to August, leave the rest on the same schedule. Everything will be fine. So not yet is Trump threatening primary challenges, but let's not forget, of course, after watching Indiana, that has to be a consideration, at least you would think, of these rhino Republicans. But when you sit there and listen to them, for whatever reason, I suppose that's...
I've had Gita on, she's from India, and she wrote a book about this stuff, eating different types of seeds and things, and believes in eating the seeds for health. And I tried some of it, but I can't figure it all out.
Not much of a concern of theirs. They're so obsessed with losing, they'll even lose their own primary in order to hand a victory to the left, I guess.
29 to 17, the Senate refuses to concur in House amendments.
Mr. Adams. Aye, Mr. Alexander.
I mean, just look at these guys too. I don't know their names to be clear, but if we were to judge a book by its cover, I would say it seems pretty obvious that They've been in office for 1 million years. They never faced a
Cashews?
meaningful primary challenge in their life. They effectively are the
Or seeds,
institution,
okay.
and that's the problem, is it not? So,
Natural,
in
go as natural
response,
as
the
possible.
latest news here is that South Carolina's Governor McMaster, which to his credit is really a pretty solid Republican in contrast to much of the delegation in his state. You know, it's like the rare case where we get a top elected official out of South
in
Carolina
Indiana?
who's not a complete rhino. But anyways, he is set now and actually already has overridden the state Senate and himself.
What they want is their district to be so red that they can't get voted out. That's what they're protecting. They're not helping the country. They're helping themselves.
Was using his governor's authority to indeed call that special session to redraw their congressional map, which would, of course, eliminate the sole Democrat House seat that belongs to that geriatric fool, Jim Clyburn. It could pass with a simple
I'd
majority.
like to see him
so all we
gone.
need is a simple majority in the Senate to get that done, but who knows at this point how difficult that's going to be. Because after all, you would think, right, if the state Senate is basically tabling the special session, that's probably a sign of how they're going to vote in the actual thing, if we are to judge by what happened over in Indiana. But at the same time, do the state senators want to run the risk of ending up like the Republicans who did what they did in Indiana? You know, in this case, you almost wish, if you're going to be a corrupt establishment, just power-hungry politician, at least do
Without
that
violence,
effectively,
huh?
right? At
Over
least
on
understand, hey,
Dixie?
there's a path for me to really be popular with voters and get reelected and not face primary challenges. You would think at least, but I'm not exactly sure why the rhinos are so obsessed with, as I said, just handing left-wingers political victory. But ever since it is now official, yes, McMaster has called South Carolina lawmakers back for that special session. Not sure what it's going to take, by the way, to get these state senators here to actually do their jobs. I don't know, maybe Lindsey Graham needs to come in, right? It's like, that's the thing, is that, well, am I a big fan of Trump still endorsing Lindsey Graham in 2026? Not exactly. But, you know, this is the
He tends to be a
situation where
warmonger.
you need him, right? You need
agree with
Trump
him on
basically to say, look,
Iran.
you know, I've been nice to you.
Really,
Please do me a favor now and go and tell your, like, rhino friends over there, hey.
Yeah,
you
a
know,
lot of them have been
do
voted
this.
out.
This is the right thing to do. You know, that's what you got to do. Get Lindsey Graham, get Tim Scott, get the political institution there that is pro-Trump to say, hey, you know, I'm pro-redistricting. It's okay. You know, we can be rhino losers and still at least go with Trump when he's threatening us, you know, at the end of the day. So that's just an idea I would have. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on this. I'm at least glad that McMaster is calling the special session, because at the very least, if it fails, every Republican who voted no has to do so on the record. There's no getting around this by saying, oh, we just tabled it or something like that. And again, I'm just going to say,
No, tomorrow I'll be on sometime between 2 and 4 Eastern, because I'm going to probably be doing the rallies in England.
It's appalling.
We'll see how many of them get arrested.
To me, how much Republican politicians
That's
still
Eastern
don't get
time.
it and still don't just understand the moment we are in. To show you that contrast, by the way,
I thought
let's bring
peanuts
you
were
more
bad for you.
updates out of the courts to once again prove it's not a legal issue. The Democrats have no power to fight us on this. It is literally just rhino Republicans fighting other Republicans, because today we likewise got the news. Yet another federal judge has now refused to block Tennessee's 2026 redistricting map. They are a state that got it done, which eliminates the last remaining Democrat seat and now makes the state 9 Republicans to 0 Democrats. So once again, now I think it was like Alabama, Missouri, Florida, all these states have ultimately won in court, unlike Virginia, because guess what? Our maps are actually legal. I know that's a shocker, Democrats. And now Tennessee is joining that list where our maps can now go into effect in 2026. And we've been, maybe every single redistricting video, we basically have been saying, hey, that's another legal victory. Why? Because they're happening that much. This is really easy if Republicans would just do our jobs. Not that hard to get into effect, but you know, when you're dealing with these idiots, I guess that's what we have to deal with. So South Carolina now in special session. We'll see what happens. Not going to have the highest hopes.
Eating
but,
some
you know,
right now, huh?
Again, going
Okay.
on the record might change
I
something.
know peanuts are
Let's
easy
now
to
talk
eat
about
a lot of them.
Mississippi, where they don't have a governor as good as McMaster. Okay, this guy Tate Reeves, a pretty notorious rhino loser, if I were to be honest. Total just like Chamber of Commerce style Republican, if you know what I mean by that. But anyway, so Mississippi, guys, was set to do one of their own special sessions, specifically because the courts had ordered them to do so. And one of the great phenomena that we have witnessed ever since the Supreme Court ruling is a bunch of lower federal courts have now basically went to these red southern states and said, okay, because the Supreme Court ruled your districts to be unconstitutional, those districts cannot proceed. Therefore, you have to draw new maps before 2026. And the moment I saw this, I went, yes, because I knew for a fact it was going to be very difficult to get these rhinos to voluntarily do it on their own because they don't like to do anything. But hey, if the courts are saying legally you have to redistrict, you don't have.
Now, what are these districts going to look like, though?
Have a choice, then there you go, right? At least the courts, in a maybe shocking, ironic turn of events, are forcing Republicans to actually do something. Not stopping Republicans from doing something, but forcing us to actually act. Well, here's the bad news, is that, so over in Mississippi, Governor Tate Reeves is now canceling the Mississippi special session that was set to redraw the maps after a federal appeals court vacated the order that was forcing the state and requiring the state to draw its new Supreme Court aligned map. So in other words, right, the court said to Mississippi, you have to redistrict and order them to do it. All that happened in the appeals court is they basically put the injunction on it and said, okay, that order is now void. So that means what exactly? Mississippi does not have to redistrict, but they still can redistrict. The courts never said anything about that. They just said, now you're not legally required to. So again, you would think if you're a solid Republican, you should look at this and say, well,
if I eat too many, I get a little bit of an indigestion.
So why not still do it anyway? We already scheduled this special session. Let's just go ahead. No, instead, Tate Reeves cancels the special session, basically saying if the courts aren't going to force us to act, then we're not going to act, and then added that he expects lawmakers to redraw their congressional lines in 2027, aka after the elections, even though this is Mississippi, I'm not sure what they're even worried about. Yeah, newsflash, I know Tate Reeves, I don't know, math is complicated for you. The elections are in 2026. Right? We want this done before the midterms. What is the point? You already had the special session like set up, right? You already had all the structure there. And now because some woke appeals court is telling you, oh, well, you know, rhinos, you don't have to win. You're just allowed to win. Okay, so still take the win. It's pretty common sense, no?
Special
this is
election.
what we're dealing with.
Gregory.
If the courts aren't literally like slapping the rhinos in the face and forcing
it's hard to get turnout for a special election, so it's important
them to do something, though they will never do it on their own.
So you're talking about Indiana.
Will never achieve sincere, positive, conservative victory on their own. And that is the frustration we are dealing with here. It's just so obnoxious to witness and obnoxious to
I got about 12 minutes left. I want to get to Spamberger stuff. This happened with Spamberger. Let me play that. Governor of Virginia. Watch this.
This news right here. Abigail Spamberger, this is kind of set this story up here. They want collective bargaining for state employees. They want collective bargaining for
making Democratic unions.
For just about everybody in Virginia. And back in 2020, when Democrats took over the
then they can steal your money, register everyone, vote for you if you don't vote.
Legislature, I believe it was in 2019, but in 2020, when they really started
Democrats
to
love
get things going,
these things.
They allowed for collective bargaining again in Virginia, and there had been a ban on collective bargaining since the 70s. And now that it's back in a limited fashion, the supermajority of Democrats in Richmond pushed forward a bill to expand collective bargaining broadly. And Spamberger, it's been on her desk. I think she had some amendments to it, but like all other bills that she amended, the General Assembly said, yeah, you're not running things here. We're running. We're in charge here. We're the majority Democrats in the legislature. We're in charge here. So thanks, but no thanks to your amendments. And they promptly sent them right back, and they wanted their collective bargaining bill to pass as it is. And so since then, we've been seeing different localities, different mayors, all Democrats coming out and saying, hey, pass the collective bargaining bill. The unions really want it. Pass the collective bargaining bill. We need to raise taxes. We need to pay more. We need to
raise that peanut butter.
Muddy the waters when it comes to how much
the old-fashioned peanut butter.
Local and state employees.
Some of the
we've
new
seen
stuff's not
calls
so great.
across the board for Abigail Spanberger to sign this bill. Well, Menachia reporting that
what's everyone's thoughts on Spanberger? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger plans to veto Democrats' collective bargaining bill for public employees. Senate Majority Leader Scott Surreville told me. Now, Scott Surreville, the same guy who wanted to push a casino on Fairfax County, the voters there said, no, you know what? We don't really need the casino. We're doing okay. You know, we're probably the wealthiest county in Virginia. We don't really need gambling. Thank you, Senator Surreville, but no thank you. And what Senator Surreville did was he wrote a bill that says, you know what? You're going to vote on it. We're going to hold a referendum. This is what Democrats do. They hold a vote. And when they say, well, at least we let you vote on it. Does this sound familiar? Well, we took a vote. You should listen to the will of the people because the will of the people spoke and we took a vote on it. He pushed the bill that would require Fairfax County to vote on a casino, whether or not they wanted it. And Spanberger vetoed that bill. And boy, did that really tick off Scott Surreville in the Senate, because he issued a statement after that. And he said, listen, we're going to build this casino some way, some form, whether you like it or not. Why? Because we have union support. The union is driving this casino in Fairfax County, and they're also driving this collective bargaining that we're seeing here. Look, let me clue you in on Prince William County, second largest jurisdiction in Virginia, which second largest school division in Virginia, and it was the first school division to get a collective bargaining agreement between the teachers union and the school board. And once they opened up Pandora's box, every school board meeting became about, well, how much more can you pay us? Well, we need more money. We need to be paid this. We're not getting our right pay there. And during every school board meeting, they edged out parents, students, members of the community who want to talk about education, about learning, about enrichment, about community. They were all edged out from union members who just want to gripe about pay. And that, as soon as they open Pandora's box there with collective bargaining, that's
some of the highest paid ones in the country, though.
And to this day,
if you
anytime you
go
go
against
one of
their
their
cost of
meetings
living
or
in that
attend one of their
state.
meetings, during public comment time, you're going to hear about how much they're not getting. So, looks like Manock is saying here that Spanberger is not going to sign that bill. There's going to be a lot of pissed off Democrats across the state about
A
this.
nutcracker machine, huh?
Frankly, this is something she's got to do. I mean, because she's not running the state. I mean, if you know, because you've watched Virginia Insider and you've been following along pretty closely, that there was some talk from Representative Hakeem Jeffries in New York to come down to Virginia, kick out, essentially fire all the members of the state Supreme Court, replace them with their cronies, who would then rehear the illegal gerrymander case and then approve the gerrymander and then implement their maps, and then they can get their congressional seats for the midterms. It's some banana republic stuff right there. But you heard that. New York Times reported that, and we did that video on it. So you've been following along. You know that is what's going on there. But Abigail Spanberger wasn't even briefed on that plan. Abigail Spanberger has been doing ribbon cuttings and photo ops and signing a few bills. She's been around signing. There's a gun bill that she signed that we'll get into here in a minute. She's doing all of that while everyone else, Louise Lucas, Scott Surreville, Don Scott, Speaker of the House, they're working with guys like Hakeem Jeffries in New York to fire our state Supreme Court that did nothing but uphold the law. You know, just because you took a vote on something doesn't mean that you get it passed. That's kind of like mob rule. That's what that is. Yeah, you can vote. You know, I did a little analogy. It was a guy that a good friend of mine actually didn't the Democrats, they don't understand. Well, if you vote for something, then it should happen, right? Okay, well, you go to work and you say, you know what, Joe, a couple of us got together, you know, we got to talking. We don't really like the fact that you come in, you microwave fish for lunch. Yeah, it stinks up the place. So what we took a vote and we decided that we're going to demote you and then move your desk 4 floors down. So go ahead, get your stuff. We voted you out. And Joe's like, well, wait a minute. There's nothing in the employee handbook that allows you to do that. You can't just you just vote me out, demote me and vote me and move me to the next floor. There's nothing that allows you to do that. We have rules here in this place. And the guy's like, nope, sorry. Majority rules, bud. We took a vote. Pack your stuff. Get out of here. And then the guy's like, I'm not leaving. I'm not doing it. But Democrats don't understand that. They don't get the rule of law. They love mob rule. If you take a vote and you continually hear the people voted, you hear, what's his name? Gruesome Newsom out in California. Look at him. We took a vote and they're ignoring the will of the people. Well, that's because the legislators ignored the law to let this illegal gerrymander go through in the first place. So to my point, before I got sidetracked here, Spanberger, who's not running the state, needs to do something, and it looks like she is. She's going to hit back and veto this bill. Going to piss off a lot of Democrats. A lot of liberal tears incoming tonight on this one. Here's a video that Manak did back in February talking about what all this would mean. And has Prince William County, I mentioned Prince William County earlier, it's their school board chair saying, a Democrat saying this would not be a good idea for Virginia.
Virginia lawmakers are moving legislation forward that would expand collective bargaining for all public sector employees. AFSCME is backing the bill. The major public employee union says strong collective bargaining laws help states reduce staff vacancies and turnover, improve public services, and decrease racial and gender wage disparities. Several mayors and cities have already come out against this proposed legislation on expanding collective bargaining. Some say they prefer local control. Others say their cities cannot afford it. And new tonight, here in Prince William County, home to one of the largest school districts in Virginia, the school board chairman says this bill is a bad idea.
This new bill wants to mandate collective bargaining. If this bill passes, it will be the single largest tax increase in Virginia history because all of the responsibility for these payments and salaries will be on the localities, local taxpayers.
The Democratic school board chairman explains the current bill.
And they'll keep jacking it up.
Wouldn't give counties and cities any
once they get their hands
to
in
pay
there
for collective bargaining agreements.
Adding more burden to localities and then not funding it is a bad idea.
Lateef wants to see all lawmakers and the governor focus on making life affordable for everyday Virginians.
If your number one goal of being elected was to do something about affordability, this goes in the exact opposite direction. And you will be,
as usual,
putting a burden on the Virginia taxpayer like we've never seen before.
Prince William County Public Schools already has collective bargaining for teachers, and Prince William has some of the highest paid teachers in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Well, if this bill moves forward and is signed into law by Governor Abigail Spanberger and right to work isn't repealed, you would still be able to choose if you wanted to join the union or not. Reporting in Prince William County, Nick Minock, 7 News.
And that's an important thing too. You talk about join the union, and I just going back to the school board meetings and how this whole collective bargaining union issue sucks the air out of the room. All the talk is forcing people into the union, right? How can we get them to join? How can we hold these elections during school hours? It becomes this all-consuming process about getting more people to become union members, sign the bargaining agreement,
become socialist,
agree to join the union, essentially. And the conversation turns away from
take your dollars and put it toward democratic things.
From education, for improving scores, for hiring competent teachers, for implementing programs that work for students, for kids.
I agree, Gregory, 100% with what you just said.
Kids. It's interesting how we see all of that kind of
all that's inflationary that they're talking about
when it becomes all about money and all about the union. So we'll see what happens here with this collective bargaining bill. A lot of Democrats won't be happy.
Okay, everyone, I'll catch y'all tomorrow. I should be on. I'm planning on about 4 p.m. Eastern time. All right. God bless everyone. Bye-bye.